Hey, Tim Sykes here, and it is a long holiday weekend. The stock market is closed tomorrow, so don't feel like you have to wake up early to trade, although you probably should wake up early to practice and study. This is going to be a big week for Stocks to Trade. This is the software that I use every single day that you should be using. We're introducing a whole bunch of new search tools like a full Twitter feed search where you can also search the price and the float. A lot of low float plays have been spiking lately. And also, yes, paper trading is finally ready. Da 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 da. So you're able to practice on Stocks to Trade without risking a dollar. And this is fantastic. I cannot wait for you guys to really participate in paper trading. As I say, to really be successful, you have to test. And this video lesson will talk all about, basically what I think you should be doing testing long and short. So please watch until the very end. Don't just be like, oh, okay, I got the gist of this video lesson. You have to be meticulous. So with that said, this is it. This is your last chance to save on this Profitly holiday sale, which I have extended far too long. I've indulged far too many of you guys, but frankly, I'm a sucker when you guys say, hey, I want to invest in my education. Please just extend it a few more days. I'm done. Okay, this was a Hanukkah Christmas sale, and now we have gone 2 weeks into January. I have a dream that you guys will be educated, but after, MLK Day, we're done. It's not being extended anymore after Monday. And also Stocks to Trade, I would sign up for this yearly plan because prices are going up February 1st. This is your 2-week warning. We don't make a dime on Stocks to Trade, okay? In fact, we've actually lost 6 figures. But as I've been explaining to people, it's not all about making money when we have these tools that can really, change your trading and change your life. Frankly, I need more millionaire students, and Stocks to Trade helps me automate my process of teaching you. And the paper trading is going to be huge. It's taken us like 7 or 8 months to finally do that. Broker integration is coming. Stop asking me when. You'll know when. I'll tell you when. Don't worry about it. That's like asking me when is a bear market coming. I don't know, okay? There's no specific signs. Programming takes a while. So definitely go to stockstotrade.com or sign up for the monthly plan if you're not ready for the yearly plan, but lock this in. All of this will be going up, I want to say like 25% on February 1st. Just so that we at least break even, because I can't keep just losing money. I feel weird about losing money on a platform that we've worked so hard on. We don't need to make money, but at least let's just not lose a lot of money. And we can't go any lower. A lot of you guys have asked, please go lower. We can't, okay? Data is a very tough industry. We are contractually obligated to charge certain prices. And frankly, we have to go up, especially with all this new stuff that's coming. This new data is more expensive. But trust me, it is worth it. One good trade pays for everything. So let's talk about some trades. Before I get into the chart on TBIO, which is pretty much the main play, and AXIM, which is another good play, I just got to go over a few tweets. This was me. This weekend has been kind of crazy. I've been traveling to go to the wedding of a very famous trader. I don't know if he's going to let me post pictures and videos of his wedding. I'll ask him, but I won't, force it. Sometimes, weddings are somewhat personal. But I was flying across the country on Friday, and I made a trade literally right from the jet runway. It was kind of crazy. I probably shouldn't have been trading, but I'm an addict. I admit it. I can't help it. So I made a little dip buy on AXIM. This is the classic pattern that has been working for several months now. You get these morning panics that are caused by stop losses on a stock that's really been strong for several days. And, from the low here, the low was 13.46. I mean, it bounced up to 15.20, so nearly $2 a share. And then it made a midday low here, which was kind of weird, like no support anywhere. I guess you can go back to this recent high here in 12.20 and say that's support 1230-ish. And back here like 1235. I guess you could use that as support. I don't know. That's kind of weird. I was using this bottoming and this topping. I like looking back at where key resistance and support is. The key resistance on this day was like 13. And then when it spiked up, it also came down to 13-ish. And then it used that former resistance as support. This is basic technical analysis. So I was thinking when it drops from 19 to 13 in like 10, 15 minutes, 13 is going to be support. So I was buying. I only got a partial position in the low 13s. It spiked too quickly, frankly, because I actually alerted it in chat before I even bought. And, the bid and the ask were going down. I was actually trying to make a live video lesson, but I had really bad Wi-Fi at the Jet Center. They're not used to trying to make live video lessons there. Like, people are, like, trying to board planes and stuff, and I'm like, I have to get this Wi-Fi up. What can I do? It was kind of funny. So, didn't get the live video lesson, but it's the same pattern. I have, a dozen video lessons, some of them live. Challenge students, we have a live webinar on one of these dip buys. It's the same pattern every time. And I know some people were shorting it. Tim Grittani was shorting it, and he banked. I think he made, $3 or $4 a share shorting it. So there's money to be made on the way up and on the way down. And that's what I really want to talk about on today's lesson. So many of you guys ask me, like, should I go long? Should I go short? Traders go both ways. And it's really sickening when, certain traders try to say you have to go long. And then if the stock drops, it's like, ha ha, all you stupid longs lost. Well, what if the longs sold before it dropped, And some shorts, they're like, getting crushed early on. And guess what? The shorts turned out to be right eventually on TBIO. And you had to reserve shares to short early. So those longs who are making fun of shorts, guess what? Sometimes if you have patience on these, there's a profit. I wouldn't necessarily do that early on in my career. When I was in my 20s, like I was this young, dumb kid, I would do that because, frankly, they usually always came down. But now in the past 6 months, that strategy has kind of been disproven. A lot of big shorts have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars and millions of dollars just shorting a lot of these supernovas, and in the past, they've always been fine. But in the past few weeks and months, you never know how far these things are going to go. And TBIO did come down, so some shorts got lucky and made some money, but you don't want to play with fire. And, you guys who are longs and you just hope and hold that it's going to come back, like I'm getting messages this weekend being like, Tim, I didn't listen, I'm still holding long, I think it can come back. What the fuck is wrong with you? Don't hold and hope. And you shorts, like, why are you risking losing 30, 50% on your money? If you risk losing like 30, 50% on your money and you make 10 or 20%, that's not good risk reward. That's not a good trade, especially because on a Friday, this thing could have hit $2 a share. You don't know how many shorts are getting squeezed, and it's very dangerous, and I don't want you guys playing with fire. So anyways, I made a safe $1,400. I used roughly 16 grand of my $800,000 account. I was really pissed that I got such a small partial execution, but given the circumstances, not the end of the world. But I got to highlight a few students who profited on the long and the short side so that you can start to understand that, guess what? Like, there's money to be made on both sides, so respect both sides. Early on in my teaching career, I thought there was only like one way to make money. Every other strategy was BS. Now that I've been teaching for nearly a decade and I talk to definitely more traders than anybody else in the world, I see all these different opportunities. I would have been long. As I said, I literally would have been long TBIO overnight if I was not traveling. When it broke this high here of 120-ish, and it was like after hours, I was actually making that 90-minute video lesson Thursday night. I wanted to be long, but I wasn't sure. I didn't even know if there would be Wi-Fi at the Jet Center at all. So I'm not going to just blindly buy a stock. That would have been the old risk taker me. But you buy the breakout on day one over the former high in the 120s here. Let's say if I had done it, let's say a conservative position of 10,000 shares at 130, right? And, it closed after hours at 150, and then after hours or pre-market, it got up to 160. So I'd be selling somewhere in here in the 140s, 150s. I would have made like 2 grand. Nothing huge, but a good overnight hold, not wasting a day trade. Then there was another dip buy opportunity right here when it looked like it was going to go, red, and it actually held that key level of 115, 120-ish, and that created a secondary short squeeze. This was actually a lot easier for the delayed morning spike. You can either hold overnight on the breakout of the morning high, or you can dip buy when it fails to go red on the day, and you get a nice short squeeze here. This is all in 20, 30 minutes from 120 to 160. So you had multiple opportunities to buy the breakout and buy the dip at that key level of 120-ish, 125-ish, and sell it for 20, 30 cents a share. Or I know some of you guys were like the dip buy here, on Thursday, and you dip bought it whenever, and you profited 30, 40 cents a share. Like, people like Terrence made 390, small account, small gains, but he learned a lot. So good job, Terrence. Chica Trader made $195 on her first trade. That's pretty freaking sweet. On a $500 account or $500 trade, making $195. That's a good percent gain. Here's Singer Nico. This was a little riskier, buying it at 130, but locking in the profits at 150. So congrats. But then we have my student Stephen Ducks, who's my latest $600,000 profit student. Now he's closing in on $700,000. He made $70,000 this week. He was shorting NAKD and GLBS. And, I was warning NAKD was a chat pump. A few chat rooms were pumping it up. And that's frankly why it spiked up so quickly. And that was a short. I got to give props to my student. His nickname is Legal Pimp in the chat room, and he loves shorting, and he nailed the short here, I believe, at 355, 360-ish. I don't know when he covered. I lost Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi in the jet was terrible. But he nailed the morning top on his short, and, he's been dedicated. So Legal Pimp, good job. Some of you guys, I don't know why you're buying this. I don't know why you're buying this and holding this. I'm seeing some tweets from people, not necessarily in my chat room, but people who are just long this, and you're just holding and hoping, and you're just trading penny stocks like the vast majority of people do, where it's just, no plan, not looking at, why it's up, not realizing that it's a pump, and you're just buying, and then you get crushed, and then you're like, oh, I hate penny stocks. You don't hate penny stocks. You should hate yourself and your laziness and your ignorance and your lack of planning. That is the problem. There's nothing wrong with penny stocks. They're fucking amazing if you just learn to prepare and you learn the catalysts. This was a great short. And GLBS, I guess, was spiking big. I couldn't even see this. I couldn't even get streaming quotes. And I am going to mention when I have bad Wi-Fi, because that's going to affect how I trade. And it's ridiculous to me that some people are like, oh, you shouldn't mention your Wi-Fi, whether it's good or bad. That is one of the key indicators. I've traded from over 50 different countries. I don't think you guys realize this. There's a lot of traders, they sit in front of their desk with like 5 or 10 monitors, and they're basically a slave to their job, and so they make some good money, but so what? You're sitting there, you're like the fat, lazy people in WALL-E, and that doesn't lead to anything good. You need to get outside and go explore. So when I have bad Wi-Fi, yeah, that's going to influence my trading. So I couldn't even get my streaming quotes to work on GLBS, but this was a good potential short too. This was a supernova. It's scary to short on day one. But at the same time, I've done this before. I've done this trade where I've seen a stock, actually this stock, run up from 3 to 7 in one day. After the key on this one is after it's proven that it can't really hold its gains. So you don't want to just short any stock, on day one, like TBIO, as a lot of people learn. But this one, for several weeks has been having problems, even going up like 20 cents a share. So when it goes up $4 a share, yes, it's scary and it's risky, but look at this. Perfect topping right in the low 7s over the recent highs, right around the same area. So it's not totally random. And Steven Ducks, made 70,000. I'm excited to see all of his trades on Profitly. Maybe he did post it already, but I haven't even had time to check. I'm at this wedding all weekend. I'm making this video lesson literally from a wedding when everyone else is partying. But frankly, I want to, educate you guys so that you can study on this long holiday weekend. So props to Steven Ducks. STM Chris, look at this. I mean, look at these trades. He made 2,300 today, and this was Friday. And you can see here, what did he do? I mean, he didn't have any good trades. He was really, 1 for 5. And if you're a baseball player, you're batting 1 for 5. I mean, you're batting 200. That's not very good. But notice, small losses, small gains, and then one nailed it on the dip buy on AXIM, the same kind of dip buy that I had, and he made $3,000. He went bigger than I did. So, he's got a lot to learn, and this is what he's saying, and that's cool. But at least you're understanding the patterns. This is not a random pattern. This is the morning dip buy pattern. Zika made 10 cents a share on TBIO and also infected people in Miami. Weller trade, made 480 pounds. I don't know what that is in dollars. I think that's like $600 or $700. I love this tweet from KAF Investing, and he says, I owe a lot to Timothy Sykes, but I think the single greatest lesson he taught me is trade scared so you don't have to be scared to trade. And this is so, so, so important. A lot of you guys are scared of trading. You're scared of the stock market. You're like, what if I lose everything? If you're willing to cut losses quickly, okay, let's say for whatever reason, you're buying GLBS here at 7, thinking this could go to like 10 and go full supernova. If it starts coming down, you cut your losses quickly. And also when a stock spikes like this, you have to beware of, an intraday halt. We have these intraday volatility halts. And so, if you're buying it anywhere here in the 7s, guess what? It opens down here. I mean, at 5, you can't cut losses quickly. So a lot of you longs have to learn, if there's a chance of a halt or if there's a chance of a big drop like that, you're not going to be able to cut losses quickly. So it's really not worth the risk to buy that. And on the same token, on the other end of the spectrum, it is worth shorting, because if you get a halt or a quick drop, you can cover and make $1 or $2 a share, even though it came right back to 7. But if you're shorting in here anywhere in the 690s or 7-ish area, like Steven Ducks, and you get the halt and you cover. I mean, this is freaking sweet. Or you don't even cover. Maybe you're still holding short. So this is very scary. AXIM, again, when you're dip buying, it's very scary. Trying to catch a falling knife, you can end up with a very bloody hand. But at the same time, I'm buying after a $9 a share dip. There is a lot of support in here at 13-ish. If I'm wrong, if it cracks below 13, I mean, it did crack below 13 midday, but I was already in the air by then. But if it had cracked below, I just would have lost. I would have cut losses quickly. I would have lost, what did I get in at? Like 13.50. I probably would have lost. I wouldn't have even waited really for 13 to crack. If it had kept going down, because also I had a time crunch there, so I'm trying to squeeze this trade in. I probably would have lost like 30, 40 cents a share. But my goal was to make $1 or $2 a share. So if I'm risking losing 30 to 40 cents a share and I'm buying it near support, guess what? That's good risk reward. I can make 3 to 4 times as much as I'm willing to lose. And as it turned out, I made a little over $1 a share. And the midday, drop turned out to be the better dip buy for like a $2 a share bounce. But I hope this panics again. Tim Grittani is probably short this stock overnight. This is just the first down day. So you have to think about different patterns, whether it's, long or short. This is a great short on this double top too here in the 19s. I don't know if Tim Grittani was short overnight or if he shorted somewhere in here in the 18s or 17s, but there's ways to profit on the way up and there's ways to profit on the way down. And, if you are, let's say, long overnight here at 19-ish, thinking that it's going to break above 1980 and go to 20, 21, 22, and it doesn't, you just sell the first minute. Or you try to sell the first minute. It's scary to, have one of these long overnight. This is no different than GLBS, where, if you are buying a stock that's up so much, you're risking a lot because it can drop so quickly and you might not be able to cut losses quickly. So you have to kind of understand the risk reward. If you're long overnight, you might not be able to cut losses quickly. When the stock has already dropped $6 a share, my risk is not that much because even if it does keep dropping, it's not going to drop another $6 a share. There was no negative news. It dropped because of stop losses going off. And this was the exact same price action that I've shown in literally a dozen other videos. So when you see this, I mean, it's kind of crazy. Hold up, let me pull up a chart. Just one sec. So I found this chart on one of my other dip buys. This was HADV. It dropped from the 4s down to the 3s. You can see these candles. This is 1 minute charts. And it just dropped, and it went straight down and then straight back up because this was overdone. And this was also one of the strongest stocks in the days leading up to it. You want another example? Sure. CATQ. Here was another morning dip buy. And this one didn't happen right at the open. You had a little dip, but then this was pure panic from 250 down to 130. And look at this bounce. I mean, if you can catch the bounce, even just a partial. I only caught a partial of this bounce. Look, the title of this video is how I made 20% trading. I mean, I was catching this in the 130s, somewhere in this mess. Okay, and I sold out, I think in the 150s or 160s before it went up to 220. And this is all in the next hour. Morning dip buys on recently strong stocks that are crashing not due to negative news, but due to stop losses going off. What was the other one? CNAB. These are just off the top of my head. Pure panic from 270 down to 150, 150 back up to 220. And this is, mind you, this is 10 a.m. So just before 10 a.m. and just before 11 a.m. Okay, so some people will say, oh, I hate on penny stocks. I mean, this is 150 to 220. This is a 50% return in an hour. How are you going to hate on a 50% return in an hour? What kind of fucking idiot hates on a 50% return in an hour? This is more than like a value investor makes in 5 years. It just doesn't make sense to me. What the problem is that most people don't look at penny stocks this way. They're looking at them like investments, just like value investors are very narrow-minded. They're like, but why would you buy a company with no fundamentals? And they talk with an accent and they have a plaid hat and a cigar and a spectacle. I don't know what the fuck they are, But I don't care about the fundamentals. This thing isn't dropping due to fundamentals. It's not rising due to fundamentals. It's a classic penny stock. So a lot of you guys who are, quick to talk about the fundamentals, that's not what's driving any of these stocks. No one's saying, let me buy this stock at 260 because the fundamentals are so great. Or let me buy this stock at 150 because the fundamentals are so great. The fundamentals are fucking irrelevant for all of these plays. They're moving on hype. They're moving on news. And a lot lately have been moving on, these fundamental, obsessed, narrow-minded short sellers who just enter too early and then they squeeze each other out. Okay? It's kind of ironic of how much they hate on these junk companies, and yet because of how much they hate on them and because they can't even fathom these stocks going up. I know some short sellers where they're like, you should never buy a company like this. Never. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? I'm not trying to say that this is a good company. I just want to make my potential 50% bounce. So some of you guys need to get away from that Benjamin Graham, Warren Buffett bullshit because it does not apply to penny stocks. And if you actually look at Warren Buffett's history, he actually traded penny stocks before he got into the bigger game of investing. And he's gone on record saying he could make several $100,000, and this was, many decades ago, doing penny stocks over and over and over again just based on the patterns. He got into a bigger game. Now he's made billions. That's fine. That still doesn't change the fact that there's opportunity and dip buying morning panics if you are prepared. And that's why I'm so proud of, where was Steven? This guy, STM Chris, where he's making $3,000 on an AXIM and nothing on any of the other plays. And that's okay. It's not about winning every single time. It's about winning more than you lose. This was cool. I like this. C5 Trader says, I'm real, and yes, I'm still paper trading, learning why you teach the way you do. And I appreciate all of you guys posting pictures of yourself. I said that in the last video lesson. I didn't really think that many people would, but I've gotten like 200 people sending me pictures. I appreciate all of you, and I'm actually going to make a cool little collage, a little video montage of all my students. And it's okay to paper trade. I'm fighting all this bullshit every single day. It's really draining sometimes with people's assumptions like paper trading is so evil. Paper trading is fine. It's not evil. It's good to practice. A few more people just to call out. My Twitter is blowing up. I know, Twitter is supposedly like the slowest growing social network. For me, it's the fastest. Sal closing in on 7,000 in profits. He's growing his small account slowly. Wait, you got to see his whole chart. Can I make this bigger? Oh. You can see here he wasn't doing much in the beginning, but now he is really getting it. This is what happens with students. It's kind of cool. For a while, like you don't get much, you don't get much. There's nothing really going on, and then all of a sudden it starts clicking, and now Sal is on fire. He's winning roughly 75% of his trades. I like this Alexin. Oh, I gotta redo this video. He's taking notes on my trader checklist guide, and I love this. And Alexin, I like your dedication. You just got done with video 12. Look at all these notes. This is what it takes, guys. It's not about following alerts. I don't want you ever following my alerts or following alerts from anybody else. You have to learn the patterns. You have to be prepared ahead of time. And I'm very proud when, several other students call the trade before me because we see the same patterns. I'm not doing anything unique here. Nick Ward is studying on stocks to trade all weekend long. Good job. Robert, one of my students in Asia, and he's being patient and waiting for the pullback or the dip to buy, and that's very good. As I said with those other plays, if you're chasing a stock and you're buying a stock near its highs, you might get a really quick drop where you cannot cut losses quickly. So it's very rare to ever be worth the risk. Even if you are right, even if it does keep going, when you're wrong, the drops are too quick. That's why I prefer dip buying rather than chasing in this market. And granted, markets change, but right now dip buys are working. I love this. Tom Owen says, cut your losses quick. Rule number 1, that is not optional, okay? Cut your losses quick. I don't want any of you guys risking losing 30, 40, 50% on a trade, even if it does eventually pan out, because you're playing with fire. And there's a lot of bull market newbies that think that it's okay because, frankly, they get saved in this bull market and it does come back with however they're trading. And they're like, see, patience paid off. Oh, it just pisses me off, this newbie thinking. And guess what? All that quote patience, that paying off this time, not this time, maybe the next time, maybe 5 trades from now, but one of these times you're going to lose 30, 50, 100%. And all that patience is shit. But go ahead, ignore me. Learn on your own, learn the hard way. All I can do is try to warn you with lessons that, frankly, I did not know about for the first few years of my trading. And that's why you don't see me ever having 30, 50, 70% losses, because it's not worth the risk. It's not worth the stress, no matter what the potential gain is. I'd rather risk missing the entire trade than potentially making a small gain and risking a potentially big disaster. Because every time you risk a potentially big disaster, you play with fire. You play with fate. And one of these times, it's going to catch up to you. LeVar, I like this. He says, missed his execution on a few plays, so he came to the park and he's going to work out. That's a good thing, If you miss a few plays, don't get angry, don't whine, don't try to revenge trade and try to take another trade. Go to the park, go have lunch, go, out for a walk, go work out. Whatever you can do to not chase, because once you start missing executions, you get in this mindset of, oh, I deserve to make money, I deserve it, and then you're trying to get back, and it's a very slippery slope. And then also one last full thing, stocks to trade. I really just have to remind you, please take advantage of this monthly plan or yearly plan. Prices are going up February 1st. They're never coming back down. We're going to unload all these features. And then also, please take advantage of this Profitly sale. Not extending it past Monday. This is your final chance. So I got to get back to these wedding festivities, but I wanted to make a good little video lesson of, some good tweets and good, habits of students, whether you're going long or short. I congratulate all of you. Every single trade, you learn something. And that's what you should be thinking about. Even if you don't make any money, or even if you're paper trading, you're learning and you're getting better for the next trade, and you're working on your daily process. That is the key. That's how you make so much money. That's what these DVDs will all tell you. Trading Tickers is the DVD for my top student, Tim Grittani. He has, 4 dozen live trades, 3 dozen live trades, and it's all about rinse and repeat, waiting for the right patterns, and then striking. And for me, I was not planning on trading. If you read my watch list going into Friday, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to have Wi-Fi, but I saw a pattern that I recognized. I took it, and it was a rush, to make a little over $1,000 on a thing where, like, literally the Wi-Fi was going in and out. I don't know if you saw me in the chat room, but I kept going in and out of the chat room, not because like I wanted to, but because the Wi-Fi kept dropping. And I don't encourage you to necessarily trade in risky environments like that. But when you have a pattern like this, I actually sold too soon. I mean, it went up to the 15s. I was out for like my little over $1 a share. I coulda, woulda, shoulda made like $1.50, but I'm more than happy to take 2/3 of the potential profit. You don't have to catch the whole move. Okay, that's the thing. I don't know where Stephen Dux was shorting GLBS, and I don't know where he covered, but making 70,000 on the week is fantastic. Tim Grittani, I believe, made, I think, 50,000. Mark Crook made 25,000. I made just under 15,000. So we all had really good weeks, and we didn't time any of the plays perfectly, but long or short. And on TBIO, I'm going to end it on this. Again, congrats to longs. If you bought it, anywhere on day one here in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and sold it 90, 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, that's a good long setup on the first day. Okay, there is really, unless you're going to short the morning spike. I mean, this is so risky to short like this, and you can make like 10 or 20 cents a share shorting the morning spike. I guess if you're shorting in the 130s, 140s, 150s, that might be good. But I saw a lot of people shorting in here at like 70, 80, 90 cents, and they're averaging up. Again, I really have to caution you, just like I'm cautioning longs about chasing, too high up, and the stock can drop too quickly where you can't cut your losses quickly. I have to warn shorts who think that it's okay to short big and, either hold through it, and, shorts who held through it, frankly, are going to be rewarded. This will probably drop to back to 70, 80 cents, and they're going to learn the wrong lessons. So if you're long and you're risking a lot, you will learn the wrong lessons. And one of these times, it's going to catch you. Shorts, I can't even begin to tell you how many millionaire short sellers I know who have just lost so much in the past few weeks. They're not going to tell you because they're not fully transparent. But short sellers, it's a kind of a small community. And a lot of these shorts who think that they're being so cautious when they're not showing, a screenshot, they all have the same habits when they start talking shit about a company, and then they go silent on Twitter. And it's like, oh, yeah, oh, I missed this one. Like, obviously you're shorting. That's why for the one fucking day that you're not tweeting, this is when this fundamentally flawed company is spiking. We know you're losing big. I talk to brokers. They talk about people who are losing big. So trust me, I don't want anybody losing big, long or short. I'm trying to protect you guys. Every single trader who blows up trading these penny stocks is just another person to say penny stocks are evil. And then that's just more misinformation that I have to combat, and I have to say penny stocks are not evil. You're just ignoring the rules. You're taking too big risks. If you drive my Ferrari 200 miles an hour in a 35 mile an hour zone and you crash and you're in the hospital and you say Ferraris suck. No, Ferraris don't suck. You suck. You broke the road rules. Okay? Ferraris are fantastic. Lamborghinis are fantastic if you abide by the rules and you drive them safely. No different than penny stocks. So please learn the rules and abide by them. And also, if you made it this far, I'm curious, to know whether you like going long or short. So leave a comment below this video and say you prefer, LONG for long or SHORT for shorts. There's no one right answer. I'm just curious, what do you like to do? We all have our own bias. I personally prefer shorting, so that's why I do more, big gains on my shorts because I'm more comfortable with the patterns. But on dip buys, I'm making 10, 20, 30% on those too, so not the end of the world. Anyways, I got to get back to this wedding. Leave a comment, long or short. Take advantage of this sale on Profitly. Take advantage of the current prices on Stocks to Trade because they're going up February 1st. The market is closed tomorrow, but please study. Have a good weekend.